I now welcome my dear friend and colleague, Deon Hall.
Okay. All right. So I'm not going to talk too much about me. All right. So I'm going to dive right in. My story. Have you ever sat in a freezing radiology room waiting for the radiologist to deliver your results? Do you recall the type of emotions that you were feeling at the time? I'm sitting there on the side of the bed in my blue gown. As my radiologist says, I found several cysts in your right breast and we have to do further testing. And then she said, and by the way, you're high risk for breast cancer, given what I've seen. My world turned upside down. I didn't know what to say, what to do. And I asked several questions. There were no answers. But being the relentless woman that I am, I set out to do my own research. And I did. And I found answers. And what I found is that I was suffering from hormonal imbalances, specifically estrogen dominance, which caused the cyst in my breast. And with that information, I was able to figure out how to heal my body and how to alleviate my cyst. And I figured out a way with my doctor's directions without medications because I'm not a strong advocate for that if it's not necessary. As a woman, no matter what age you are, you must be aware of these hormones because at some point in your journey, in your womanhood, you are going to feel the blunt of one of these. They have been dubbed the Charlie's Angels. These hormones are frequently what drives hormonal imbalances in most women. And they create the perfect storm, especially during our perimenopausal years. So that one of the biggest culprits is estrogen, which is what I suffered from estrogen dominance, which meant that my estrogen was higher than my progesterone. So estrogen, right? It's what gives us our shape. During puberty, our body changes. Estrogen is responsible for that. It has over 400 functions in our bodies. It regulates our reproductive system, helps to keep our mood, and the levels can be high or they can be low. The other key thing to know about estrogen is that it plays in tandem with progesterone. That's the sister. They have to be in balance. If one is too high or one is too low, then we feel it in the form of different symptoms. It's like the yin and the yang. So, what are some of the symptoms of high estrogen, which is the one that most people tend to suffer from, particularly in the perimenopausal years as you approach menopause? So, this can lead to estrogen dominance, which is what I had, weight gain, quite common amongst many women, breast cysts, breast tenderness. We might have painful periods, endometriosis, mood swings, anxiety, and all those emotional issues. You know, we always say we're hormonal because of our mood. Well, estrogen is primarily responsible for that. So, what do we do if we have high estrogen? Now, the common theme that you'll hear from me here is diet and nutrition. Some of the other things you can do if you think you have high estrogen, reducing our alcohol and caffeine. And I know, ladies, it's hard, particularly if you're a coffee drinker, to give up that coffee. But for your health, sometimes we have to balance these things. Avoiding xenoestrogen, and these are estrogen-like things. They're chemicals that impacts our endocrine system, disruptors, and we'll find them in plastics or carpets or furniture, you know, BPA and phthalates. Try to stay away from those. Reduce our exposure to environmental toxins, and that comes in many different forms. Eating less conventional meat and dairy, and increasing our fiber, and prunes are great for if you have a high estrogen. I have used dim and turmeric. And so those have been instrumental for me in helping me to balance my estrogen. All right, so what if you have low estrogen? Low estrogen, hot flashes. Oh my goodness. I don't know if anybody out there is suffering or has suffered from hot flashes and night sweats, but that is a common theme among sometimes more closer to menopausal women or even post menopause. Achy joints, sometimes we don't know where that comes from, and brain fog. What can we do? Again, nutrition, big piece. Cutting gluten, Flaxseed, which is a superfood, is also awesome to add in, and acupuncture. And be mindful of the types of exercises that you do as you age, because some types of exercises are not ideal depending on where you are in your hormonal journey. Cortisol, stress hormones. Look, we live in a world where we're faced with stress every day. There is no way that you can go through your life with not being stressed. Stress becomes a problem when it becomes chronic. And if you don't control that, that affects your hormonal balance. Cortisol and adrenaline are produced in the adrenal glands. So adrenaline is another counterpart to cortisol, the stress hormones. And so having those be in balance, and managing your stress level with different techniques and different modalities is very important. Studies have shown that a lot of hormonal imbalances in women is due to primarily stress. So it becomes so fundamental for us to take control of our stress levels. If we have high cortisol as a result of chronic stress, it's going to impact our thyroid. It's going to increase our weight. I mean, a lot of times you'll see people who are stressed tend to gain a lot of weight, and not just because they sit and eat, but also because of some of the hormonal issues that are going on in their bodies. Because even people who eat very well, sometimes at exercise, will find that they're gaining weight and they can't understand. Well, their cortisol levels are off, and that can prevent you from losing weight. Fatigue is also another component of that we often feel, and we're not sure why. So what do we do with high cortisol? Again, diet and nutrition, and some of the same things that I mentioned before. Meditation and yoga. I know we started with a wonderful meditation at the beginning. I love yoga. Journaling and all those things help to reduce your stress level. So practice different forms of modalities can really be instrumental for you. I don't know if any of you women have just found yourself sometimes just crying and you're like, why am I crying? I don't even know why I'm crying. It's attributed to some kind of hormonal issues, right? So don't feel bad. You're okay. You're not losing your mind. I wanted to point out ashwagandha, and this has helped me. This is not only for low cortisol. If you have hot flashes and night sweats, ashwagandha is an herb, comes in a powder or tea that is really, really great for helping you with that. I want to talk a little bit about our thyroid, very important organ in our body. It controls our metabolism, right? And it controls body temperature and hair growth. Really, really important. Iodine is a key ingredient or key component that is needed for our thyroid health. Hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. Now, a lot of people, most people that I've come across in my practice suffer from hypothyroidism, and that's where your thyroid is underactive, meaning it's not producing enough thyroid hormones. The opposite is true for hyperthyroidism, which is overactive, which is too much thyroid hormones. Thyroid problems, a lot of times it's misdiagnosed. Doctors don't always figure out that someone is suffering from thyroid problems. So if you're having any kinds of issues, make sure you go to your doctor and ask them to make sure they test your thyroid levels. Symptoms for hyperthyroidism: weight loss, nervousness, anxiety, and you can actually have enlarged thyroid glands. And the hypothyroidism can be weight gain, which a lot of us suffer from, fatigue, sleep problems, trouble concentrating. What do you do for low thyroidism? Again, we're into our diet and nutrition, reducing stress, bringing it back to that stress again, and all those protocols that's needed, avoiding toxins and chemicals, whether it's in your food, exercise, really important, and detoxing regularly.